Hello everyone. Thanks for watching my presentation. I will talk about how we sped up development and improved the quality of a product by connecting engineering and product teams through API. It will be mostly valuable for software engineers working in small to medium sized companies. I expect large companies to have a similar solution in place, but if you don't, or maybe some ideas will be very helpful for you too. So, how a typical development cycle looks like. People from different teams come together to collaborate. We plan, design, work on the implementation, test, and then finally ship. Sometimes step by step, but often at the same time. Then cycle repeats. Product teams kick off the feature planning by fleshing out the requirements. Then they work with designers to ensure the product is nice and easy to use. They give feedback to developers during the implementation phase. In Stashaway, they are also included in the acceptance testing phase. For planning and design, we do already utilize many tools. We use Notion to store the details of an initiative. Whimsical helps us to visualize it and makes complex processes easier to digest. In Figma, designers and product managers prepare mockups and sometimes pixel perfect designs. It's the home for our design system, and we have to use Jira to organize and keep track of the whole project. And the list goes on. The process is quite straightforward there. But what do we have for the acceptance testing? Can we collaborate more efficiently there? I'm Tatiana Shepeleva. I'm a staff software engineer at Stashaway. I have more than a decade experience in QA engineering, ranging from manual testing to test automation. I recently switched to software engineering, and today I want to focus on the tooling for manual acceptance testing. And I'm currently working for Stashaway, and Stashaway is a company empowering people to build and protect wealth in the long term. We operate in 5 countries, manage more than a billion USD, and have clients from all over the world. Now, please welcome Rachel. She is a product manager overseeing a development team. And he is Amanda, a software engineer working with Rachel. They just started working on a new exciting feature. Both are very enthusiastic. After a few days of work, Amanda comes to Rachel with good news. The feature is done. How is Rachel going to approach the job? What are the phases of manual testing? Theory says it's prepare, test, and write a report. While the last two are pretty straightforward, preparing is very involved and there is lots of back and forth there. Let's focus on it. What do you need to prepare? You need a testing environment that runs the feature, test cases to ensure that you don't miss anything, and test accounts that have access to the feature and enough data to work with. Ideally, we already have the first step automated. Amanda uses Docker to build an image of application with all needed setup and Kubernetes to manage containerized applications. She follows CI/CD best practices and have GitLab or Jenkins or similar to organize the deployment process. Amanda can provide Rachel with either a link to a personal testing environment or is deployed right away on a shared test environment on each machine. Sometimes we even forget that this step exists. Test cases for acceptance testing are usually the acceptance criteria from the task. So Rachel will use Jira, Asana, or similar to store them. And finally, the tricky part, test accounts, test data. Where is our product manager Rachel going to get them? The feature, let's say, is pretty simple, but still requires different account types to test. So she will need plenty. For that one, Rachel will need Amanda's help. Well, we all know what happens next. Getting a test account can be a tedious process. Many companies, and Stashaway included, use a service-oriented architecture nowadays. This is the simplification of what we currently have. Just to give you an idea, in real production, we have about 100 services, and many with its own database. Um, so, for the single screen's acceptance test, data must be aggregated from multiple services. Each may have its own database. It complicates the search for the suitable accounts. For example, for my investment screen, we first ask accounts and authentication services to decide if we should show the page or not. Then we fetch the data from portfolio service that gets it from securities and trading services. So Amanda can create an account for Rachel. Step by step, she can set it into the right state. She can also do it through UI or internal API calls or both. But our Amanda usually does that with API calls as it's faster. Another way to get an account is to search for it in a big anonymized dataset in your test environment. This is usually faster than setting an account from scratch. But Amanda needs to write complex SQL and go through multiple databases, or usually both. So Amanda switches from her current task and finds a test account. Now Rachel finds a bug and asks for a fix. She will need to check that later, of course. Amanda is busy and can't do it right now. We all know lunch is important, and Rachel knows that and waits. Okay, Amanda is back from lunch, fixes the issue, and finds a new test account. Unfortunately, Rachel needs some more. She founded an unrelated bug and has used all the provided accounts to investigate it. So she hasn't finished doing acceptance testing just yet. Amanda switches from her current task again and finds more accounts again and again, and Amanda is gone. She didn't respond to Rachel that day. She got tired of context switching. She didn't feel productive. She just wanted to go home. Rachel hasn't finished testing and will have to continue tomorrow. It's a bit of exaggeration. It doesn't happen every day, you know. However, there are inefficient cycles of bug fixing, testing, waiting, leading to frustration and decreased productivity. To streamline this process, in Stashaway, we developed Test Query API, an API that automates the search for test accounts. It's a user-friendly interface designed with our product glossary, allows Rachel to easily find accounts. Test query searches through multiple databases and returns results based on flexible criteria such as account or portfolio data. It also shows aggregated from multiple databases data. This is how it currently looks like. Pretty simple UI. We have different search criteria. We have default search criteria, and the UI reflects almost everything what we currently have in the API. If you need just an account that is able to log in into the platform, you can click submit button right away. So anyone who just joined the team and has limited knowledge on the product can get a random account and click around of application on our staging environment. Now Rachel goes to test query most of the time instead of pinging Amanda. And how did we start? We gathered the popular requests from two engineers and the queries that engineers stored for themselves to do manual testing. We analyzed them and focused on the most popular ones and converted them to filters. At first, There was only search for an account in the right status. Then we added support for more complicated queries where we search for multiple databases. And for example, we added support to search an account with a specific portfolio. And it covered about 80% of use cases. And then we tailored the API for engineers. Our engineers do test the changes, and that also takes time. Um, so we provided a very flexible API. It supports all the search criteria plus getting a user by various ID types. It returns the aggregate data aggregated from multiple databases, and it generates authentication tokens and show different account and portfolio details. As Amanda has more time now, she can focus on improvements. What we found helpful is having shareable links to a search result. So Rachel can attach them to her test cases, reports, or Jira tickets. Then the added authentication tokens generation I mentioned in the previous slide. As we understood, the engineers have to test the API changes, and those tokens can be just taken from the database because the AI, like we don't use the same tokens. We don't have them in the database, so every time the engineer had to generate them from scratch. So we added that functionality to API, so the testing of internal or external API is quite straightforward. So Amanda can easily generate and use tokens for her internal or external API testing. And finally, we store the search results. So if Rachel forgot to store a link to a search result, she can easily find it in the UI. We also use it in our integration automation tests that uses staging environment. I know it goes against the recommended practices in the test automation world. However, to ensure the stability of the critical services, we do it. For mobile app, we and web app, we mock the request when they are testing the application itself. But to avoid rewriting all the mocks manually, we integrated tests with test query API, and we can re-record mocks whenever we need. We just specify the user requirements for this test in the format test query will accept. And when you rerun the test, we will find a suitable account and do all the requests against staging environment and record them. Easy as that. And because of that, we had to extend our pool of initial accounts to choose from to be able to have a better randomization. Even for rare and complex requirements, we still can provide a unique result each time. Um, this is very important, especially when you have integration tests running. You on the staging, you have engineers testing the changes, and you have someone from product, marketing, or design team using those test accounts. So even if the requirements are rare, we still try to provide a unique result so no one interferes each other's testing. And we did one more improvement, which is usually neglected when we talk about testing tool, it's performance, but it boosts everyone's productivity. So we had time when the test query API, one response for some rare condition took like half a minute. And of course, it led to context switch for the engineers or whoever used that account, were waiting for the results at that time because 30 minutes it's long. You usually switch to reading, I don't know, Twitter or checking your LinkedIn So when we reduced that to 10 seconds, everyone was happy. Also, we prioritized database integrity as a source of truth over internal API, which may alter user data and might not be as flexible as we desire, especially when you're trying to test the same API which you're using in the test query. So we consider database as a source of truth every time. So yeah, otherwise it will be confusing to test the same API endpoint in future. Okay, now both Rachel and Amanda can benefit from test query API. They can communicate and connect with each other without tension and constant context switching. That makes both of them happier. And this query had become a daily tool for almost everyone in engineering in Stashaway, and transforming our testing practices by providing rapid, reliable access to test accounts and supporting a smoother, more effective testing process. By breaking the cycle of testing delays, we enhance not only our operational efficiency, but also our overall product quality. Thanks for listening to my presentation. If you have any questions, you can add me in LinkedIn and shoot me back. Thank you.